Welcome back to Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life, the podcast. This is Life Coach Myrna Young, and you're listening to 5-Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. Today, I want to talk on the topic, creating your life consciously, a journey of thought, words, and action. Now, just finished reading the first book in the Conversations with God series. And one of the most profound things that I came across in that book was the fact that God says how we as humans create. And the profound concept that God introduced to Neil Donald Walsh in this conversation is that we create by first thought, words, and then action. And then he suggested, because a lot of times, 99.9% of the times, we're creating unconsciously. So he said that if we reverse it, then we will be creating consciously. So that's what I want to share with you today. That's what I want to explore in this 5-minute coaching session. So our creative process, as highlighted by God, follows the sequence of thought, words, and action. But like I mentioned just now, God suggested a fascinating twist, the reversal of this sequence, where we put action first, word second, and thought third. And what we're doing then, we're prioritizing as a means of reprogramming our minds and creating a more conscious life. Because if you're just going to think things that you don't even know you're thinking of, right? And then you're going to speak them into existence because you don't know what you're doing. And then again, unconsciously, you're going to act them out because you're not thinking about anything. So that's basically why we're all creating these things that keep showing up in our lives. And we would be hard pressed to say, you know what? We created this. Nobody wants to believe that. One of my favorite sayings is saying, you drove here. Nobody hijacked you in the car. You got in the car and you drove here, whether on autopilot or not, but you drove here. But in order to be conscious, then you got to reverse it, because nobody unconsciously starts with action, right? You have to put it into practice and be deliberate. So that's what we're talking about here, deliberate creation. So let me go through the process of how we normally create here for you. I'm pretty sure you know, but we're just going to go through, a rehearsal of it. So this is the unconscious path of creation. I don't know if you know, but our thoughts are the seeds of creation. They initiate the process by setting the direction and tone of our lives. What we consistently think about, whether positive or negative, can manifest in our reality. So, as God suggests in the Conversation with God book, many of us unknowingly allow our unconscious thoughts to share our experience. And then we speak them. One of the things I do consciously is to speak into the atmosphere, because that's what I learned in church. That's what I learned in the Bible. And, they're telling you that if you had goals, you first write them down and then you speak them into the atmosphere. So thoughts transform into words, and words hold immense power. When we speak aloud, or even silently to ourselves, we can reinforce our thoughts, making them more real and influencing our emotions. Often, we express our beliefs and perceptions through our words, further cementing our reality. Like I just mentioned a minute ago, I've always written my goals out and spoken them into the atmosphere. And again, this is a side note. This is why life coaching is so popular and life coaching works. Because guess what? When you come into a session with a life coach, you have to have a thought of what you want to discuss. You have to have what you want in your mind, an intention of when you want to get out of the session. So you think it, you speak it in the life coaching session, and then your coach gives you actions to do. And that is basically how you're deliberately and consciously creating. So number 3 is action. The culmination of creation is our actions. Our actions are a direct result of our thoughts and our words. They manifest the tangible aspect of our lives and shape our experience. The cycle of thought, words, and action perpetuates itself, often maintaining unconscious patterns. One of the things that Tony Robbins always says, and it's whenever you think about this word, you think about him because he's made it very popular, and that is massive action. He teaches that we shouldn't just take action, but we should take massive action, right? Because massive action moves the needle. All right. So what God is suggesting is that we reprogram our mind consciously by starting with action. So let me walk you through this. In the journey of conscious and deliberate creation, we begin with action. By taking deliberate and mindful actions aligned with our desired reality, we disrupt the autopilot mode of unconscious living. Action then becomes the catalyst for change. So for example, if you think you have lack or you're broke, then you would always live in lack. Why? Because you keep telling your subconscious mind with your actions and your thoughts and usually your words that you're broke. And that's what you're creating. You're creating the reality of being broke, right? So the action of giving away your money, that's the first action. And then the words that you speak, I have more coming, or, I'm not broke. And then basically what that does, it reprograms your mind and say, hey, you've given away money. That means that you must have an abundance of it, right? Is when you're saying, I can't give because I don't have enough for me. You're telling the universe in your subconscious mind that you're broke. And that's basically what that's what you're going to get. Now, I'm pretty sure you've probably heard this in very different ways. But the first time I heard this, it was from my first pastor. And he said that he was praying to God for money to close on his first house. And God told him to give away the money he had. I mean, how many people walk in that kind of faith? He said God told him to give $10,000 away. And he did. He gave $10,000 away. And you know what he got? $50,000 back in return, right? I've heard this so many places that, you got to give to get. Once you hold on, you don't get nothing because you're always going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel, right? So that's how you got to act. Act for whatever you want. I've heard that, giving you another example. If you're single and you are waiting for a man, then you act like you already have one. You park on your side of the driveway, you sleep on your side of the bed, those type of things, because you know what? You're saying, hey, I've got a partner that's going to come and park in that driveway or sleep on this side of the bed. These are different things. Leave some room in the closet. These are ways that you can start acting the reality that you want. Then you also have to speak it. We're going backwards now, right? You also have to speak it. Conscious words come next. When we speak or affirm our intentions and aspirations, we reinforce our chosen path. These words serve as powerful tools for reprogramming our minds and aligning them with our conscious goals. God made a point that useless affirmations are not going to do the trick, right? But giving thanks for what you're hoping for what you're praying for, does the trick. For example, Lord, I thank you for giving me this amazing husband. I love you. Lord, I thank you for the money in my bank account. Lord, I thank you for this great job that I'm going to get when I go to this interview next week, but I'm going to get the job. Yes, your words have to reinforce what you want. And then the thought. With actions and the words in place, the final element is thought. By giving conscious attention to our thoughts, we reinforce the reality we wish to recreate. We become more aware of the thoughts that no longer serve us, and we replace them with empowering thoughts that uplift us. So let's go back to our example of lack. Let's say that you're living in lack. You are in a famine, right? I once heard that somebody says that if you have a piggy bank with change in it, then you're richer than 95% of the people in the world, right? So that's something to be grateful for, right? Say, God, thank you for my piggy bank. Thank you that I'm richer than 95% of the people in the world. Thank you that I have food in the fridge. And thank you that I have a house to live in. Because, you know, I've also seen a movie where people are sleeping on rocks, right? So yeah, you got a bed, you got someplace to live, you should be grateful. And then start by giving $1 away to homeless people on the street. Tell anyone who would listen that by this time next month, I'll have that job. I'll be living in overflow. The thought is gratitude for life and breath, for food in the fridge, for the basics, for a husband if you already got one, right? You thank God and you live in gratitude, because gratitude is a very, very powerful emotion. It moves things. So, in conclusion, the book Conversations with God provides a valuable insight on the role of thoughts, words, and action in shaping our reality. And when we reverse the sequence, we can actively program our minds and create our life consciously. This shift empowers us to break free from unconscious patterns and take control of our destinies, ultimately leading to a more intentional and fulfilled life. All right, so I know that you've heard this before, but a lot of times we hear things and we tuck it away and we don't actually put it into practice. Because knowledge without using it, it is just useless, right? Knowledge is only power when you use it and put it into action. So your homework is to start acting, start speaking, and then think differently. All right. So thanks again for tuning in to this week's episode of 5 Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. If you're watching this on YouTube, would love for you to subscribe. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I would love for you to rate and review on iTunes if you have an Apple phone, and subscribe so that you can get every week my 5-minute segments and when I bring on guests to help you transform your mind so you can transform your life. Until next time, namaste.